Good morning, everyone. It's Craig Studnicky, CEO of RelatedISG, welcoming you all to our next Insider Series. Today, we are with Chrissy Taylor, who hails out of the Fort Lauderdale office, originally from Boston, Massachusetts. I think part of the reason she moved here a long time ago is because of that ridiculously cold, freezing weather in Boston, but I'm going to let her elaborate on all that.
Hey, Craig, thanks so much for having me today.
Chrissy Taylor, it's wonderful having you here.
Absolutely fantastic. No, you're a big fan of Boston?
I've always been a big fan of Boston, mostly because my older brother was a New York Yankee fan.
Oh, fantastic.
So I always rooted for the both Sox. Always.
You know what? Red Sox are a great team, but I have to say, I had a great night with the Yankees one night in Boston.
Did you?
Not going to name names, but those guys showed me and a girlfriend of mine a very good time.
Did they?
Yep,
Really?
absolutely.
So you're
so
in your heart, you're a pinstriper.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I can go both ways on that.
Oh my goodness, this interview may take a little longer, guys, than usual.
Anyway. I think that came out wrong. That's okay though.
That came out perfect. Are you serious? That came out perfect. So anyway, yes, I love Boston.
I love New York.
Oh, good. Well, then we have a lot in common.
Perfect.
Because I'm from the northern New Jersey area. My children live in New York, so this interview is going to go splendidly, I think.
Fantastic. So do you agree that the best months up there are 3 to 4 months a year, and then the other 8 or 9 should be spent in Florida, at least that, if not more?
I surrender to that opinion completely. Completely.
Absolutely.
By the way, it's not too different in Chicago, and it's really not too different in New York. Because the 3 or 4 months you're talking about in New York, I'll tell you when they are. It's April, May, and June. And in my opinion, September, October, because July and August is like an oven, not very pleasant. And once you hit November, it's rainy and it's cold and kind of like Boston. So I agree.
You know what's fantastic is the airfares are typically so inexpensive from Fort Lauderdale and Miami now. If you get tired of the heat here, you can just fly up there for a weekend and then come back down and be so happy you live in paradise.
That's very true. So you love the climate of South Florida. You think that's one of the big magnets, huh?
Absolutely love it. They say the Fountain of Youth is in St. Augustine. I swear it's in Miami. I mean, hot and humid. It is like having your skin packed in water every single day. It is the best Fountain of Youth
Well,
ever.
you particularly like water. You're a water girl. You're a boat girl.
Absolutely.
Were you a boat girl up in Boston?
Absolutely, I was raised on Cape Cod.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And when did your mom and dad start bringing you to South Florida?
Oh, every single year since I was born. Craig, I have the best story ever. My grandmother was the secretary to a developer, and
Developer here
in Dania.
Okay.
And up in Boston, he started investing in property down here. My grandmother and grandfather said, well, why can't we start doing that? So they bought their first investment house down here in 1968 in Dania. They started buying one after another. So by the time I was born in 1980, we started spending every single winter down here. And I was homeschooled here for the winters, and then we'd go back up for Cape Cod summers.
So you've been coming here since 1980. And let's say it wasn't until 85 or 86 that you really have your first memories of what South Florida kind of looked like, because you're 5 or 6 years of age. My point is, boy, you've seen a lot of changes.
Oh gosh, absolutely. No, the place like the back of my hand, I feel like I might as well be a native.
When did you get the itch to want to live here permanently?
Oh, I knew it when I was going into college. It was a debating whether or not I go to school down at University of Miami or I go to school up at one of the schools in Boston. Always knew from when I was a kid I was going to end up down here full time. I have been fascinated by architecture in urban development here in Miami since I was a kid. I was the school-age child who was actually doing book reports on tropical Art Deco in South Florida.
God, so you're like a Miami fan before Miami was cool.
Absolutely love it.
Did you go to UM?
I ended up not going to UM. I ended up getting a great opportunity to go to school in Boston.
Okay.
That paid all of my tuition.
Okay, well, that's very, very nice. But in your heart, in terms of baseball, you're a Yankee pinstriper, and collegiately, you're a King.
You know,
it sounds like it.
New York is great for a few months a year just during baseball season. I have to go back up to Boston, of course, for the Patriots.
Well, of course. Well, even with Tom Brady playing now in Florida.
You know what? I'm really happy for Tom and his wife. I think his family made a very good choice. I mean, especially as you get older, if you're going to get paid that much money, why wouldn't you bring your tax bases down to Florida?
It is pretty remarkable that he went to Tampa Bay and took them to a Super Bowl, and in fact won the Super Bowl. My deepest respect for Mr. Brady.
Everybody's impressed, and I hope his wife's proud, and I'm sure
I'm sure she is. So anyway, let's go back to you, and let's go back to your love affair for South Florida.
Absolutely.
When did you decide to get into real estate?
Oh gosh.
I mean, I appreciate what you just said about the Art Deco nature of the architecture, and then followed by the contemporary architecture that we get to enjoy every single day when you live here. But when did that all translate to, I'm gonna get my real estate license to sell?
Well, my mother was a top producing real estate agent ever since I was a kid. I grew up in the real estate office. She
Okay,
would bring
in
me-
Boston.
In Boston, on the South Shore of Boston, where I grew up. She would bring me to open houses and say, what style of house is this? And from there on, that's what I knew. And so I knew when I graduated college, what was I going to do? I was going to get my real estate license and become a real estate agent.
Interesting. So you don't really didn't have much of a choice. You were thrown in to the real estate pool as a kid, but it turns out that's really what you wanted anyway.
Yes and no. I was actually encouraged to not be a real estate agent because it was such a stressful 24-hour a day job that I was really better off going to get my law degree and being a real estate attorney.
Okay.
But that wouldn't have me out in the field with customers every day. That wouldn't be out. I wouldn't be getting out seeing property. And
True. You'd be in the office a lot, and it would still be 24/7 if you're going to be good at it. Because tell everybody from Related ISG, by the way, as you know, part of the reason for this, especially as we're climbing out of the pandemic, this Insider series got popular so that your colleagues in Related ISG can get to know some of the top producers inside Related ISG and learn from them. You are, in fact, a top producer in Related ISG. And you just said something that I wouldn't mind you repeating to your colleagues. To make it to the top in any field, and particularly in South Florida real estate, you just said it's pretty close to 24/7. Is it?
It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your mind never stops, but I think you also need to draw boundaries.
Okay.
You need to have a healthy balance between your personal life and your professional life. I had a great success in my 20s in Boston, and I also almost burnt myself out of the industry by hearing my phone ring all the time and picking it up at any hour. So I think for newer agents, I think you absolutely have to hustle. It's 24 hours a day, but you also need to know I need to draw boundaries for myself and for my family and for my own sanity.
So for those that just got their license, for those that just joined Related ISG, it's not a part-time gig. Not if you want to get to
Oh, I love the people who say, I'm going to become a part-time real estate agent.
No, she
Please,
doesn't.
let me,
Someone's being very facetious.
let me know how that works out for you. Part-time. Your phone is ringing continuously. Tell me when your 9 to 5 job, how you're going to answer the phone on behalf of your clients, because you've got a deal right now that's hanging on by a thread. You've got to be ready to work for your clients and make things happen at any hour. There is no part-time in this.
But you do, according to Chrissy Taylor, you do get to unhook. Now, we started this discussion with you talking about, in a way, the beautiful climate of South Florida. So when Chrissy Taylor disconnects, how do you disconnect?
You know what? The only way for me to disconnect is to be out on the water.
Ah, the boater in you.
Absolutely.
The boater in you started as a young girl in Nantucket, you said?
I was on the South Shore of Boston,
Okay.
close to the Cape. In fact, we still have a summer home closer to
And the love of the water hit you as well.
absolutely.
By the way, I'm from the Jersey Shore, so I understand the love of the
Out
water.
on the Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore, that's right. I get to live on the beach. I live on Miami Beach, but it's nevertheless a beach with an ocean, so I understand the attraction to the ocean. But you are a boater. That I'm not. You really get to unhook when you're on the boat.
I am. You know what? If I felt that yachting could make me as much money as real estate, I'd be yachting full time.
But that's how
In
you
fact-
get. But that you disconnect by enjoying the incredible weather that the South Florida ocean waters give.
That the tropical blue water that we see on
No,
the tropical
And I never
water?
take it for granted, nor do you.
Exactly. That is what inspires me to keep going. I said, what is your why? I look out at that and I said, that is my
Well,
why.
tell everybody how beautiful is the skyline, say, of Fort Lauderdale, for example, from the ocean.
Oh, it's absolutely spectacular. Both Fort Lauderdale and Miami.
And Miami too, yeah. Yeah,
watching
it's really nice.
watching it evolve in the last 20 years, especially from the water, is just absolutely spectacular. In fact, for Fort Lauderdale, if you walk down the river, on the Riverwalk,
Oh, right, yes.
if you use between the restaurants and the buildings going up and just the scenery, it is just spectacular. We have two great cities, and how lucky are we that we call this home?
What year, more or less, did you become full-time real estate here in the Fort Lauderdale area?
Oh gosh, full time here was, I have had my broker's license here since 06 due to reciprocity with Massachusetts.
Okay.
That was when I was going to start a brokerage here.
Thank you, reciprocity.
Yes, thank you very much. And I have been here full time since October 2013.
Okay. So, all right, from 06 to 13, from 13 to say the end of 19, you saw kind of this here in South Florida. Lots of highs, a few dips, lots of highs, a few dips. But then came 2020, quarantine, everything that we all now know about what 2020 meant. And you have seen, you were personally witnessing that you are right smack dab in the middle of what we were talking about earlier, this gigantic paradigm shift of this in-migration from all corners of the United States, not just New York, not just Boston, California, and every place in between. Folks are moving to South Florida. They're discovering South Florida. What kind of people, Chrissy, please tell your colleagues, what kind of people are moving here? Why are they moving here? And what are the biggest challenges that you're seeing in this very, very, very busy year of 2021?
Oh gosh, so I think we're seeing two, at least for my business, I'm seeing two groups of people. I'm seeing one group who is the family who's buying their second, third, fourth, or even fifth home down here because they need to get away from wherever they're from. Usually it's from New York, Connecticut, Boston. And then the other group are the workers that are relocating down here, either because their headquarters is relocating down here, they're being part of a company, say, such as Chewy, who's brought their headquarters down here, or they're having the ability to work from home. And they're saying, why am I going to be anywhere else?
You're talking about the family, the man or the woman, or both, who say who work for a New York City company, but they can work remotely. So why not work remotely in this incredible climate? And you're seeing those folks too.
Not only that, you and I have talked about how we're really fortunate that the city and the county, and I can speak for Broward, is doing a great job of bringing some great, well-known companies, bringing their headquarters or regional distribution centers down here to South Florida. And it's usually somewhere in the Tri-County area. It's either Miami-Dade, hopefully Fort Lauderdale, or as you know, we talk about Palm Beach a lot now too.
Are they moving here just because they're escaping, everything that they felt because of the coronavirus, or are there other reasons like taxes?
Oh, I think coronavirus was a catalyst to have so many of these people say, well, we are no longer going to tolerate the taxes, the regulation, the cost of living, and all the bureaucratic red tape that's going on in these other states. I think for a long time, people tolerated, they want to stand behind, they want to be proud of where they lived. And a lot of them are coming down here in droves from states that we often talk about and saying, we're just tired of this, no more. We're going to put our foot down. And some of them are coming down here full time. And some of them are just buying, like I said, second, third, or fourth, fifth home down here. And a lot of them with the expectation of moving down here full time within the next 5 years or so.
Are most of them young? In other words, are they families? Would you say? I say most, not all.
I am really surprised. At one point, I always thought this was going to be like a 50 plus, type of crowd.
Because that's kind of what you're used to, right?
Because that's what we were used to, and where I come from, we'll say almost customary to start buying, your second or third home in Florida at a certain age. But during this pandemic, I am working with a number of families who have school-age children who already had a business up and running in, say, New York City. And they're buying their residence down here to make a permanent move, and they're in their 30s and 40s.
With children. So schools are probably a bit of an obstacle.
It absolutely is.
Because the schools are filling up very fast. Most schools, good schools, are already full.
Absolutely, and that's why I think we've got two sections of buyers typically that I'm dealing with: those that can afford a lot of the private schools, and then we have a lot of the rest of the workforce who's looking for the quality schools and trying to figure out. That's a question that we often get. What schools do you think we should put our kids in? And it's all relative. It's what are you used to and what are your expectations, and then we can work around those.
It's excuse me. I know that for most realtors, and not just for RelatedISG, but most realtors throughout South Florida, they are finding that most of the folks that you're talking about are principally first looking for houses. And houses are becoming very short supply now. The lowest we've ever seen in South Florida. So here it is, the middle of May of 2021. Your crystal ball for the rest of this year. Does the interest, does the buyer profile more or less remain the same? Do you see any changes in it? And by the way, it's a professional guess, and you're allowed to change your mind in a couple of months.
Well, why don't we talk about that cyber attack on the pipeline?
Okay.
So
that's rather current, yes.
So I've got a couple who is looking forward to flying down here in the next couple of weeks. This will be their third time down, looking to put something under contract. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe now airfare prices. I think airfare is going to spike, and we're going to see that those people that were coming down in droves maybe come to a trickle because of this pipeline situation, which hopefully is resolved quickly.
I'm sure it will be. Yeah.
But I expect that our market's going to stay very strong, because the reason people are coming down here, they're solid reasons. It's not they're just buying on spec.
Yeah, it's not just because of the virus.
And it's not just
even though you said it's true, it acted as a catalyst. Right.
But they're coming down here for all the right reasons. I think our city, our local government's doing great. Our state governor our governor is making some great decisions.
DeSantis is looking like a hero. Yes.
Absolutely. He's definitely pro-business. He's creating a very business-friendly environment for companies as well as for individuals to come down here. I think all the reasons people are coming down here are going to stay strong, and I think because of that, our market's going to stay strong. Do I think if you're going to buy a house, maybe you might have a little bit of a window of opportunity in the next 4 months, because all those people who usually come down here for the winter are maybe going out to their summer house for the next few months. So if you're from the Northeast and you're looking for a property, or you live down here, maybe there's going to be a few less buyers on the market from now until September. I think that might be a little light opportunity. I think it's going to pick
so it might dip a little during the summer because the weather up nice is up north is so beautiful right now, and it'll pop back up.
Right back up again in the fall. Mm-hmm.
Perfect crystal ball, perfect crystal ball, because I actually agree with Chrissy. I just have one last question in our closing minute here. So you know Derek Jeter. You've met Derek Jeter, New York Yankee.
I don't name names.
Okay, well, he now owns the Miami Marlins. So here's the question, because Miami Marlins belongs to South Florida, and you're a South Florida girl, but you have this thing about the pinstripes, so that no matter how good of a job Derek Jeter does to try to turn the Miami Marlins into a top-notch baseball team, you're still a pinstriper, aren't you?
I love great men. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Next time you see me, I'm going to be wearing a pinstripe with the Miami Marlins baseball hat, and hopefully I get an A+ grade from Chrissy Taylor. Thank you so much for being on the Insider
Thanks
Series.
for having me.
Now I'm going to have you back at the end of the year. I think everybody who watched this interview is keeping score. First for the Miami Marlins, and to see if we see that second wave of in-migration of Americans.
I think they want to see how good you look in that little pinstripe outfit.
Okay, well then let's satisfy everybody on the next interview.
Great.
Thanks, everybody. See you on the next interview. Bye-bye.